Hi, today in this video I'm going to show you how to set up a multi-node Hadoop cluster using Ambari. The lab setups and the environment details are mentioned on the left side of the screen. In our case, within the environment we have CentOS 6.5 which is running on 64-bit. We have a vendor Hortonworks. The Ambari version which we are going to install is 2.2.2.0. The responding SGP stack version which we are going to use is 2.4.2. In the multi-node cluster, we are going to have three nodes within the cluster: node 1, node 2, and node 3.example.com, and the corresponding IP addresses are displayed on the right hand side. The local repository is configured on 192.168.56.11. Let's get ready to start with the installation steps. So the first thing, we are going to check all of the host names are set properly for each of the hosts. So let's log into node1.example.com. Make sure you have a root login to this host. The output of hostname and hostname-f command should be exactly same. Log in to node2.example.com. Issue the same command hostname and hostname-f to make sure the hostname are set correctly. Log in to node3.example.com. Hostname and hostname-f command, make sure the both of the names display same. Make sure the IP addresses corresponding to the host are as per the given in the environment details. So for node 1, it is 192.168.56.101. For node 2, it is 192.168.56.102. And for node 3, the IP address is 192.168.56.103. So in our case, we are going to use a host only network for this cluster. So all of these hosts are on the same network, and also the repository server is located on the same network. Make sure your firewall and SLNX are disabled, and NTP service for time sync is enabled on all the hosts. We can have a service IP table status command to check the status of the firewall. If the firewall is running, make sure you disable the firewall in both in service command as well as check config. For NTP, we have a sync, or we are going to use a local NTP server which is running on node 1, and we need to make sure the rest of the nodes are going to point to our node1.example.com for time sync. Check config NTPD on is making sure that you have this service enabled on boot. Let's proceed with the passwordless SSH. Make sure we have passwordless SSH set up on the host, that is from Ambari server to rest of all the nodes. Using SSH keygen, we will generate public and private keys. The ID underscore RSA is a .pub is a public key, and ID underscore RSA is a private key. Let's copy the public key to a file authorize underscore keys. Make sure you have appropriate permission for authorize underscore keys. Once copied, you try to now SSH to localhost and make sure your passwordless SSH works fine. We will just copy the authorize underscore keys file to rest of the host just to ensure we are going to have a passwordless SSH for all of the remaining hosts. So the first time we will copy the authorize underscore keys from node1.example.com to node2.example.com and then to node3.example.com. Once done, make sure now you are able to SSH to the remote nodes without password. Once the passwordless SSH setup is completed, let's proceed with setting up the local repository for all of the hosts. So in this case, for installation of HDP or Ambari, we will need local packages dependencies to be installed. For local packages dependency, we have already created our local repository, which is pointing on 192.168.56.11. Let's try to browse that repo. On this repository, if you can see, we have CentOS, Ambari, HDP, and we do have a repos called folder called as a yum underscore repos. So let's click on that. So here you will be able to see I do have two repositories. One is CentOS, one is Ambari. So let's try to first copy the local repository, which is for CentOS packages. You can just copy this particular URL and use the wget command to download the particular file from the local repository. After downloading, confirm this particular repo is pointing to the local repository path, which is 192.168.56.11. Repeat the steps for rest of the host. If you find that you do not have wget package on install on all of the nodes, then we will go back to our node 1 and we will try to SCP this file to each of these nodes. So first we will copy the centers.repo to node2.example.com. As we remember, we have already set up the passwordless SSH for node 2 and node 3. And now you will be able to see the file contents over here. So completing with the prerequisites, let's proceed with the Ambari setup or Ambari configuration on node1.example.com. So in our case, we will be assuming or installing no Ambari on node1.example.com. So first download the Ambari repository and make sure you are going to download the correct version of the Ambari repo. So in this case, we are going to install Ambari 2.2.2. Just copy the URL from the browser and again we will use the wget command to download this repo from the local repository. Just cat the file to make sure the contents are pointing to the local repository. Let's try to install Ambari server, but prior to that, we will make sure we have as a prerequisite Java to be installed on all of the hosts, as well as Java home is properly set. You can use java-version command to make sure if you have the Java installed, and the specific version should be identical on all of the hosts. So for Ambari 2.2, we need to make sure we are using Java higher than 1.8 or 1.8. Let's try to proceed by setting up the Ambari server. You can use yum clean all to first clear the existing repositories, and then use yum install Ambari server to install the Ambari server package. Yum clean all is going to clear your local cache, and yum install Ambari-server is going to install the Ambari server package from the local repository. Downloading of the package and installation of the package will take time depending upon your network connectivity to the local repository server. So once the Ambari server is installed, let's try to proceed with setting up the Ambari server. So you can use Ambari-server space setup command to set up the Ambari server. In this case, I'm not going to use any custom account to run the Ambari server daemon. For Java, I'm going to select the third option, which is custom JDK, as I have already installed JDK in my local systems on all of the nodes. I need to make sure the path of the JDK or Java home where it is installed. So we can use Java version to check what is the version of the Java, and the path where it is installed, we can use which Java. It will point to user bin Java. We just try to do ls-ltr. We see that user bin Java is a symlink to etc alternative Java, and etc alternative Java is again going to be a symlink to user libjvm gre. So this is the actual path where our Java is installed. So I'll just select the third option and drop the Java home path. I'll not proceed with any of the advanced database configuration. I'll just press enter. And now my Ambari server setup has been completed successfully. So before you browse to Ambari UI, let's try to run the service. So you can use Ambari-server space start command to start the Ambari server. Let's point out to browser and um, execute, as we know that we have Ambari installed on node1.example.com and the default port for Ambari is 8080. You'll be able to see the login screen. The username and the password by default are admin. Now you are ready to go and proceed with the Hadoop installation using Ambari. So the HGP stack, as we already confirmed, we are going to have the HGP stack 2.4.0. Now just click on Launch Cluster Wizard. You can use any name for your cluster. In my case, I'm going to use test underscore HGP underscore cluster. Let's maximize the screen. Click Next. So we are going to have 2.4.2. So let's click on the first checkbox and drop down for the advanced repository option. So in this case, if you are not going to select this, this will by default point to the internet repositories. But as I do not have internet access to this local machines, I will choose a custom or local repositories over here. So I'll just remove the defaults and I will try to point out the SGP repository as well as SGP-utils repository to my local repositories. Just copy the URL from the browser and drop into the Red Hat 6 SGP repository. The same for SGP utils. Just copy this repository and paste it for the SGP utils. Make sure you have the correct version with the OS. Click on Next. Put the list of the hostname which are going to be part of SGP cluster. In my case, I'm going to use all of these three nodes to be a part of SGP cluster. In this case, it is essential that we are not going to use IP addresses. We are going to use hostname with the FQDNs. For host registration, make sure you have passwordless key, which is going to be used, that is .ssh slash id underscore RSA. Just copy this key and put it into the square box. Either you can download this key and click on the choose file option to browse and locate your key. For SSH account, we are going to use root as a user. If you see any problem, you can click on the status. For in this case, we have a successful host registration. Once the host registration is done, it will run some script to check if there are any potential problems with any of the hosts which are going to be the part of the cluster. I see there are few warnings. We can click and see for the warning details. So the first indication highlights the transparent huge page issues on the nodes which are on all of the hosts, but as of now that is not going to be a blocking for my cluster, so I will just proceed skipping this step. Click on Next. So by default, all of the services are selected, but in this case, I will just uncheck all of those and I will just select HDFS, Yarn, Zookeeper, and Ambari Matrix. Shuffle the services and allot the particular components on the specific nodes. You can use the left-hand panel to just drop down and select the specific services to be allotted to the specific nodes. So in this case, I don't want matrix collector to be a part of node 3. I want that to be a part of node 1. So I will just click on drop down and select node 1. Click on Next. You want to have at least one client within the cluster. Here in this case, we will make Ambari server, that is node1.example.com as a client. And I will have all these three nodes running node manager as well as data nodes. Click on next. So Ambari matrix is showing an indication. It will be asking you for Grafana password. So in my case, I will use Grafana as a password over here. Click next. I don't want to save this password. And let's start deploying all of this configuration. So this particular step will try to install the services or list of whatever the services we have selected in the previous steps. It is going to install on the particular nodes. It is going to use the yum local repository to download the packages and install on the specific nodes. And once the installation is done, it is going to start off the services. So installation of the packages, once again, it is going to take time depending upon your local network connectivity. If you are using internet repositories, the time might be more as compared to the local repositories. You can click on the particular status and check for the individual components or services, what the status it is going to perform. First part is going to wait for all of the hosts to complete the installation or downloadation of the packages. And once that are installed, it will try to start the service on all of the hosts. So finally, you are able to see that all of the host services are being started successfully. You should be able to see a green success uh, messages over here. Click on next and complete. Now you will be able to see the Ambari login after login on the dashboard on the left hand panel, which are the services are being displayed. You can check the respective Ambari version and SGP stack version. So just click on admin and stack and versions. So SGP version is 2.4.2, and if you click on drop down of Ambari, you can see the Ambari version 2.2.0. So thanks for watching this video. Please stay tuned for upcoming videos. Happy Hadooping. Thank you.